welcome to 6 and 6, where we cover 6 stories from around the world in 6 minutes or less. All right, with that said, start your timer. So first, we turn to Asia. Pakistan is experiencing extremely slow internet speed, which some have blamed on the government attempts to limit free speech online. From BBC, quote, since the riots sparked by former Prime Minister Imran Khan last year, the government has blocked social media platforms and throttled connection speeds as the battle for public support spilled over from the streets to the digital space. The microblogging platform X has been blocked since the February elections due to, quote, national security concerns, end quote. These, along with slow internet speeds, have caused activists to claim that this is intentional interference by the government, while Pakistan officials have blamed slowness on excessive use of VPNs. Looking to Europe, Ukrainian forces have destroyed a second bridge within Russia's borders in an attempt to limit their ability to respond to the incursion. From the BBC, quote, minus one more bridge, Ukrainian Air Force Commander Lieutenant General Mykola Osklachev posted on social media with footage of the strike. General Osklachev added, quote, Ukrainian Air Force's aviation continues to deprive the enemy of logistical capabilities with precision airstrikes, which significantly affects the course of hostilities, end quote. This is one of 2 bridges the Ukrainians have already targeted in their campaign to inconvenience the Russian army, though they have continued to lose territory on the east side of their country, where the Russian army continues to advance. Turning south to Africa, where in Nigeria, ride-hailing service drivers are setting their own rates in order to push back against Uber's and their competitors' cutthroat pricing. From Reuters, drivers have also produced a fare guide, which they print, laminate, and post inside their cars for customers to see. One seen by Reuters set the minimum fare at 300 shillings, about $2.33, above the 200 shillings set by Uber and Bolt, who sometimes offer further discounts, end quote. The drivers say their main motivation is that the increased price of living and gas is hurting their bottom line, which the algorithmic rates provided by Uber do not cover. Across the Atlantic in South America, an Argentinian judge has forced the stopping of deforestation in the north of the country. The forest in question is one that is shared between Brazil, Paraguay, Bolivia, and Argentina. From Reuters, quote, prosecutors are investigating former and current local officials along with major companies, especially the grain sector, for making illegal profits, abuse of authority, and failure to fulfill the duties of public officials, end quote. The halt is on the clearing efforts will be maintained for roughly 3 months, which could cost the region greatly, as its largest economic driver is forestry along with cotton and soy production. Speaking of economic pain, we saunter northwards, where Wall Street waits in anticipation for Jerome Powell's word about interest rate cuts that could come in the fall. From Reuters, quote, a key focus on Powell's speech at Jackson Hole on Friday will be whether he indicates the Fed is likely to cut rates by 25 or 50 basis points. Odds of a larger cut have declined since data last week showed hotter than expected inflation on shelters for July, as well as strong retail sales reports from the month previous. Another main focus will be whether Powell indicates rate cuts are likely to come later in the fall, but markets may be overestimating how far and fast the Fed is likely to act. That's the end of the quote. Other countries have seen investment in their currencies, such as Japan, in the hopes that more rate cuts from the Fed are coming throughout the fall. Finally, we turn to Australia, where this year it appears that they are going to have an overly busy cricket season. Though the announcement that came this year that MCG will host England and Australia for their 150th anniversary match, which the first of which was in 1877, has been met with much fanfare. From the BBC, quote, the 150th anniversary test match at the MCG in March 2027 will be a wonderful celebration of the pinnacle format of the game at one of the world's great sporting arenas, and we can't wait to host England on that occasion, said CA's chief executive Nick Hockley. And honestly, I'll be honest, I don't know what half of those words mean, but cricket's really popular, so good for them. We love to have those sort of things happening. But with all that said, thank you for joining me for this episode of 6 and 6. If you want to check it out on the podcast feed, you can go into the link in the description below that like and subscribe button, where you can find it on Spotify, Pocket Cast, and Podvine. Also down there, you can find the Twitter handle at Your Daily Flip, where I post a Twitter tirade on the same days as I posted the 6 and 6. And if you want to listen to the entire podcast, it comes out in this feed, also on the RSS feed over at the same YouTube channel, but it comes out on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So, with all that said, there's only one more thing to say. Stay safe, don't die.